Welcome to Amplifying Wellness with TLC, a place where we discuss your self-care and wellness through our guest stories, information, and tips on how to live healthier and happier lives. We are Twin Life Coaching and Business Services with your hosts, myself, Tara Lehman, and my business partner and sister, Barb Schutz. We care about increasing awareness around self-care and mental health through this podcast, coaching, consulting, and more. To find about all of our services and our community, please visit us at twinlifecoaching.ca. As a reminder, this podcast is for sharing of stories and information only and is not intended to be or replace any medical advice you are seeking or have received. Thank you, Tara. So today we're welcoming Amy Sanders, an entrepreneur at heart and master certified business and life coach. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, I guess we'll start with wondering if you can tell us a bit about your background with regards to wellness and self-care.
Yes. First of all, this is where everything started for me along my entrepreneurship journey. So
okay.
Health and wellness was something that was at the core. It's the core of everything I do. In the 8th grade, I started making up fitness routines because I realized that how I felt when I moved my body. And back then, it was a long time ago, it was like in between the 80s fitness outfits and 90s. I guess there wasn't much of anything. So I was working with these like really heavy cotton t-shirts and whatever. But anyway, I liked how I felt. And I was 13 at the time. So that's where everything started for me. And from there, I had a big goal to become a fitness instructor and personal trainer. That goal wasn't that big when I realized I could do it at 18. So that's what I did. 18 years old, I became, I became a fitness instructor and I became a personal trainer, and it evolved from there. So from there, it's been an amazing journey. I've been able to help a lot of women. It started with weight loss and health and eating healthy and all of the different things. And now I do a ton with their brains. It evolves from their body to their brain. And I still am just completely fascinated by the body and what it can do, especially when we help it function the way it's intended to function.
Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned creating exercise routines. Barb, do you remember when we were teenagers, we would clear all the furniture out of the room and we would do dance choreography. And we're not dancers. We never took dance, but we had fun with it, right? Do you remember that? Oh, it was awesome.
Oh yeah, I totally remember that.
It's so fun. I also remember, I really think it was just something I was supposed to do. I love to move my body and I love to show other women what they can do as well. But I remember even being 5 years old. Do you guys remember the like TV program that would come on and it had like the floor lady, the lady on the little stool, like the platform, and then the higher intensity? It had like all three of them. I would turn that on, like when I was in kindergarten, I would turn that on. My mom would be doing something behind me and I would just like be moving with them. Wow. It was like something you could just watch every single day in the middle of the day. And I would do it. I just thought it was awesome. But from there, it just evolved, and it has been my life mission just to show women what's possible when it comes to their body, their mind, their soul, like all of the things, showing them that they can be and do whatever it is that's on their heart.
Excellent. And we know that one of your topics you like to talk about is helping women uncover their purpose by exposing strengths and building like those really thriving lives like yours, for example. So why did that resonate with you?
It resonates with me because for the longest time, I was far away from myself. The one thing that's always been stable and there is the fitness. But I was a complete people pleaser. I said yes to everything. I would chase, as an entrepreneur, we're really great at chasing shiny objects. And so I would do something for 2 minutes and then I would switch it because that wasn't working for 2 minutes. And so it's like I was always chasing what I thought others wanted me to do or what I thought would maybe create the most money or whatever, and it got to a point to where my life blew up. I mean, I married a guy. I didn't want him to feel bad. And so I said yes to marrying him. And I did marry him after dating for 3 weeks. And I didn't want
3 weeks.
Right?
Wow.
I didn't even want to say yes. I didn't want to say yes, but I didn't want him to feel bad. And I didn't want my dad to be mad at me. And so when it comes to like why I'm so passionate about it, it's because I have self-betrayed on the deepest levels of all these other areas in my life. And I've realized that when you self-betray, so much more happens behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And we as women, I think, get really good at it because we are more nurturing type individuals than men. We do want to serve. Like that's part of a lot of just who we are, but we get lost in it and we forget what we like what food do you like? That's where it started for me. It's like when I started taking back my power, it was coming off that divorce, whoa, I dated him for 3 weeks, got married, and yes, we got divorced. I did, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So we had 3 kids. It was a really hard decision to make that change, but I knew that there was better out there for me. I did not feel like I was living in alignment with who I was. And as soon as I shifted that and started actually asking myself the questions, what do you like? What do you like to eat? What do you like to do? Besides fitness was there, but it was all the other things that I struggled with, and as I worked through that, my life completely changed and I rebuilt it. I was a broke single mom making deals with my landlord. Like, if I weed all of these flower beds, can you deduct my rent? If I paint this theme, can you deduct my rent? I mean, I was willing and dealing anything I could do to just survive. And I did, but also I was able to then start to make the choices for me that felt good to me. And it's not out of a place of selfishness. And I think sometimes as women, we think that oh, well, if I do what I want, that's being selfish. No, it's not. It's self-trust. That's where self-trust comes. That's where when you're living your purpose, things start to flow. It starts to feel easier. It starts to work for you instead of against you. It's not so heavy. And so that's kind of where my life then turned. And from there, just gone, it's just skyrocketed. It's been an incredible journey.
And I think it's very interesting that you even went as simple as deciding what you eat. Because you're right, a lot of women do put those things in front of them and then just the yes people, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. Yes. You want to go see this movie? Okay, sure. But, sometimes it needs to become a conversation. And you had to do a lot of self-reflection, which is very, very important as well when it comes to living our purposes, because a lot of us don't live our purpose, or we think we are and then discover later we're unhappy, right? I mean, if you got married, you thought that was your purpose at the time. So it could be that later on we figure out that's not what we want. And I don't want to eat that potato, or whatever that is. So I think it's very interesting. You even point out the little, the small thing, I'm not going to eat that today. That is so important in our decision making. I think that that's really important for women to hear.
Mm-hmm. It's very simple. Even I remember even saying, so my ex-husband, he didn't want, appearance was everything. And so we had this family reunion that we would go to every single year. And once we were separated, he was like, well, come with me, because I don't want anyone to know that that we're in this position. And I mean, I would just always say yes. But in that moment, I was like, no. It was super scary to say it. I'm like, I'm not going to go, and he wasn't very happy with it. He's like, well, what are people going to think? I'm like, I'm done working around what people are going to think of me. I can't do this anymore, so I didn't go. And that just felt so incredibly empowering, but hard, but also again, a small decision. I didn't want to go camping. Some women are happily married and can say, no, I don't want to go camping this weekend. But I was separated, and that was still a hard decision to,
right.
Not decision, but hard to just say, I'm not going,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that kind of comes into my next thought too, around some of the challenges that people face when they're trying to, uncover their purpose. And that certainly sounds like one is being able to actually express themselves. Sorry, anything else that you've come across?
Yeah, I kind of hit on people pleasing a little bit. We get very used to saying yes, but really, I've come to the conclusion for myself and for my clients, if there's any resistance at all in your body's going to speak to you. Your body is the most amazing machine. Yes, we can work it out, but also we can listen to it and it will talk to us. So when there's any kind of resistance, question it. Okay, why does my body feel a little off right now? And it goes deeper than just, the people pleasing. It's like your soul's talking to you. So what if you stop long enough to listen? And that was something that I also had to get really good at, because I was used to going, push, do. And once I started really stopping in my tracks and getting curious, like, okay, why do I feel this way right now? And ultimately it was because I wasn't speaking truth. I was either lying to myself or I was lying to someone else about whatever it was they were asking of me or whatever. It's like, well, what if I just speak up and talk? Like, people pleasers, like I call us, like, we're recovering liars.
That's a good way to put it.
Really good at lying. But a lot of times we don't know how to use our voice. We have forgotten that we matter, and we have forgotten what we like. And so it's like speaking up, even when it gets scary, like once you do it, you gain a little bit more of your freedom back. You gain a little more power back. And when you do that over and over and over, you just become a more potent version of yourself. And when you ask yourself, like, another thing about uncovering your purpose is like, so we said, what do you like? But what are the hobbies that you used to like as a kid? Because usually those things that really like just made your heart pound as a kid, that got you super excited, those are part of you and they're still there, but they might have been diminished or just really pushed down for a while. It's like, what are those things? Or what are the other things that you've wanted to try that you haven't? Just getting really simple and like writing down a list. Okay, these are things I want to try, or these things are things I used to like. Doing that can really help. But also it's like uncovering the layers of who you are. And that's where it gets really deep, right? I want to do this thing. Why? Why do you want to do it? Or I want to make money. Why? Because I want, you uncover more. My kids to sports. Why? Because I want them to have experiences I didn't. Why? It's like you keep uncovering.
Yep.
And as you get down to that, like really like gritty truth, you're like, oh, okay, that's really why,
Yeah. I like that because, I come from manufacturing and distribution world, and the 5 whys is a manufacturing tool. And it's exactly that. You keep asking why until you drill down to the root cause in that world. But you're talking the same type of thing in a different way. It's, why am I not doing this anymore? Well, maybe it's because I keep saying no. But why do I keep saying no? Because I'm afraid of whatever. Why am I afraid of that? And really digging down until you find it. So I love that you mentioned that, because I think purpose and our why go so closely related. They're almost one and the same. And really using that to build your power back. I love that you use the word power, by the way, to really start to bring that back, that power, if we haven't had it for a while. Like in your case, right? Since you got married and then you had to find your voice again and bring the power back. I think that was really powerful for me.
Well, thank you. So I think as women, we also really struggle with shame. We want people to like us. We don't want to ruffle any feathers, so we just get really good at not knowing what, like over time, what actually like makes our heart happy and what we actually want to do.
Yeah. So you started to talk about, creating that list of things that we used to like to do, that can help us with starting to adjust our mindsets. Because it brings back a passion, like when we were all talking earlier about the things we did when we were younger. Yeah. So are there other ways that, women can start to adjust their mindset if they are trying to overcome these barriers or the abilities to say no to things? Are there other ways that we can focus on our strengths?
Yeah, there's a few things that come to mind, actually. Like multiple things just came into my head. So I'm going to just go through them.
Go for it.
The first thing, as far as uncovering our strengths, I am a huge believer that women are just the most incredible beings. We have so much to offer, but we limit ourselves. And even around money, we don't want to talk about how much money we make because, oh no, someone might judge us or they might think that we're boastful or whatever, right? It's like, what if we celebrated our wins? What if we stepped into that power and just lifted each other up? How much better would our world be? But somehow we think it's like noble or something to like minimize our voice. I'm saying step into your power. And one thing that really changed my life was something called the Strengths Finder. I don't know if you guys have
Yes.
heard of it.
Yes, I've done that one.
But I really liked it because it gave me a lot of permission once I took that test. So for the people that are tuning in, what the Strengths Finder is it's a test that you can take, and it does cost a little bit of money, where it shows you what your strengths are. And one thing that really like struck me when I took it was, if we focus on our strengths, we're going to be able to like do so much more with our life because we're actually working with what we're good at. And when we know what they are, which a lot of times we're unaware of them because they just are what we're good at. So we like don't think it's hard, right? But if we focus on staying in that world of what our strengths are, we're going to be able to bloom so much faster, and we're going to be able to serve so much more. But what we're taught is to focus on our weaknesses. We're not good at that. So let's work harder. And it feels sticky and it feels heavy. And it's like you're always pushing, right? Because it's not what you're good at. Like one thing I am absolutely terrible at, and I have in my entire life, is patience. Like I do not have very much patience. And forever, I was like really just trying so hard to like get better at being patient. And I'm like, you know what? That gave me just like a little bit of power, I guess, back, that it's okay that I'm not patient. I can look at it and be like, oh, there you are being impatient again, Amy. But I can also accept it and be like, but I'm also really good at these other things. So that was one thing that was really helpful for me, was taking that test. Another thing is another test. I'm obsessed with these tests, I guess. But another thing that really changed, that I always have all of my clients do, is the Enneagram. Have you heard of the Enneagram?
Yes, I have. Yes.
And those two things really help you figure out like why you tick the way you do. So when you understand what your strengths are and you start to work from those strengths, but then also you implement the Enneagram, which the Enneagram is a personality test. And I know some people might be like, oh, snooze balls, another personality test. The difference between this one versus other ones is it gives you the why. So we all function a certain way. And a lot of times we don't understand why. And so when you understand what you're like, and it's actually like your deep-rooted fear. So when you understand what your deep-rooted fear is, what you absolutely are trying to resist, you're able to then work through it better. And you're able to understand yourself at a level that I like, it was completely awakening for me. I was like, oh, wow. And then with my clients, it's been the same thing. It's like one of the first things I make them do is take that test. Because also the thing, when you understand how you function and also how the people around you function, you're able to give grace in a lot of areas, because you're like, oh, we will never see eye to eye this way. It's just not going to happen because we see things differently, and it's okay. You know, it's amazing that we all have different, unique things about us. And that's one thing that when I work with women, helping them expose their strengths and learn from them and lean into them is huge. And the passion, I call it the passion list. I talked about a list. It's like, what are the things you've never tried before that you want to? And what are the things that you're super passionate about? Let's do something from that list every single day, because as you do that, your joy increases, like all these like happy emotions increase, while also that self-confidence and that's trust. Like trust is everything, but it's sometimes we get good at self-betrayal. Yeah. I was awesome at it, right? I married a guy. So yeah.
I think it is, really, I'm loving what you're saying here, and just even the passion list. I had to mention, I love the name of that. That is beautiful. And, we have our bucket list. I mean, I have a bucket list. I don't know if you ladies do, but I do, but now I need to rediscover my passion list. I got to totally do that. I love that idea. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. One thing with the passion list that I did not mention was the reason why. So it's a passion list. You pick something every single day. That can feel overwhelming to some, but actually makes you feel so much more alive. When you pick something every single day, you can have things that cost money. You can have things that are free on this list, but try and make it as long as you can and then live from it. But do something on that list that takes 21 to 22 minutes a day. Reason why is because it gets those endorphins, all those happy hormones going, which creates that just more passionate person, and you'll feel more fulfilled. So yeah, passion list.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that goes along with my next thought too, which was how can we continue to live our purpose if things are feeling down? And I think having that list that you can turn to would be a really good resource, right?
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing resource. Another thing that I did not say is living in the present. So,
Mhm.
and I think this is a lot harder to do, but as we practice it, it does get easier. A lot of times when we are unhappy, or a lot of times when we're struggling or when we're stuck or whatever, it's because we're focusing on something that's in the past or focusing on something that's in the future. We're not focusing on what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And this especially goes for people who are like healing from betrayal trauma. I said betrayal trauma at all, but you know, especially like a lot of women I work with have struggled with betrayal. So when you look at that, it's like they're trying to bring up all the evidence of something that had happened or that might happen. And then they're just every single day living in this like fear-based world, which is never going to bring you happiness. But when you can bring it back to the present and be like, my life is actually pretty good. I have an amazing kids. I have this house. I get to eat whatever I want, work out. Like I have an awesome husband. You know, when you start to look at the things that are happening right now today has been a good day. Okay, great. I've had a good day today. I'm present in this conversation with this person. I'm not texting someone else. I'm not scrolling. I'm just right here with you because we've come pretty far away from connection, and connection is actually what's going to bring us a lot of that fulfillment too. Connecting to yourself, which is what we've been talking about here. And then also connecting with other people. That's where we do feel like we matter. We feel like we're seen, we're heard, all of those things that are going to bring us more happiness and feel like we are fulfilling our purpose.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's put all these things together because you've given us so many different options and awesome things to try. What would you say if people are really trying to start? So they're where you were and they're trying to find their purpose or even figure out what their strengths are. Let's say they're not doing strength finders at this point, but are there like 3 tools or resources that you feel can help them get started on really starting to move forward with their purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. The very first thing would just be get curious.
I love
Get
that.
curious about what it is, like, one, why you are where you are, because guess what? It's actually you. It's your own decisions, right?
Yes, 100%.
It's hard to own that sometimes. We're really good at blaming, but you are where you are because of the decisions that you have made, regardless of why you made them, right? So get curious as to where you are and where you believe you can go. And what you believe is true for you. Start to really dive into the truth. The truth never lies. This truth, or is this just stories that I'm telling myself? When it comes to rewiring the brain, I know you guys are coaches, so you're probably familiar with this. You probably coach on this all the time, but thoughts are just thoughts. It does not mean they're true.
Yes.
The majority of them are lies anyway, but we decide to believe them just because they popped into our head. We're like, oh, okay, guess it must be true. So get curious to, you know, why you are where you are, what you believe can be true for you moving forward, but also what you're believing right now. Is that true? Is it not? Okay, if it's not, which guess what? Over 90% of them are not true. Then what can you believe? What can you do differently? Even if it's like a bridge thought, like I'm learning to love myself, or I'm learning that I matter. I'm learning to make decisions that empower me, you know, just moving to that place. And then the next thing I would do is figure out what your core values are. And I actually have an exercise. If you guys want to, I have an exercise that people can download if they want to, where they just go through this worksheet. And everyone's values are going to be different. Everyone functions differently, right? But if you're living within your value system, you're going to feel at peace with yourself. And you're going to understand so much more about you. Like one thing, just as an example, I mean, I always thought I was like a committed person. I was like, oh, I'm pretty committed. I'm pretty loyal. Like, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Now I realize, because of different things that have happened in my past and different things, like different trials that I've had, I've realized like I am an extremely loyal person. That's an amazing value. But that doesn't mean that someone else has that. I am committed. When I commit to something, I am all in. I am committed. That's an amazing value.
Yes, it is.
I didn't know that was. Right? Until it was really pushed. And I was like, oh yeah, I commit to things. I'm all in. And those are just 2 that I know that are mine. And when I'm living from my values, when you're living from your values, things function better. You feel better because you're living in alignment with your soul, with your heart. And so those are like the first steps I would say. There's also, you know, if, like I said, I have a downloadable that you guys can take and like put in the show notes or whatever you want that. But really there's resources online you can probably look at too. my values are. Get curious and figure it out, and then start living from them and add the passion list. Those are some things you could do right now that are all free that you can just start implementing, and believe that you're worth it, because you are worth it. You are worth it. And so if you're not where you want to be, which I think we're all on a journey, right? I don't know if we ever feel like there, but if you're feeling like, hey, I don't like where I'm at, again, just start going through that list, getting curious and saying, okay, what can be true for me? Because I promise you it can be. It doesn't matter where you are today.
Love that.
So if you had just one big tip for our audience today, what would it be?
One big tip. I would say that do the thing. Like even if it's scary, just do it. One quote that I love to live by is, the cave you fear holds the treasure you seek. And so a lot of times we might not like where we're at and we feel uncomfortable there, but we're scared of what's going to happen if we make a change. But you don't know until you make that change. And so as you go through that cave, the unknown is really what it is. As you go through that unknown, it might get a little sticky for a minute. It's not going to feel very comfortable. You might not be able to see where you're going. But on the other side of that, it can become something so beautiful. So as you're going through, like trying to find your purpose and you're trying things and you're maybe like struggling, or it feels heavy, or it's uncomfortable, or people are judging you, just stay the course. Because if it's on your heart, it's absolutely worth it. And that's your soul telling you to go all in, to do it. So move through it, because as you go through that cave, that amazing treasure will be there, but you do have to get uncomfortable. You do have to make the change.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your analogy of the cave. I use a path. You can pick to go straight, which is status quo, or you can go right or left. Right or left is the new option, right? Yeah, I love that analogy. So you talk about a downloadable. So if our audience wanted to reach out to you or find more about you online, is there a website or something that they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way to find me is either my Instagram, which is just Coach Amy Sanders, or my website, which is amysanders.co. So those are the two easiest ways. And they can reach out to me too if they want that downloadable or whatever, and we can send it over. So yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Amy. It was a wonderful conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you again for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
And of course, to our audience, don't forget about our Amplifying Your Wellness with TLC community. We are here for you, and we can help you through a safe and welcoming community with free discussion groups, ebooks, workshops, and so much more. You can find the link on our website to explore all that it has to offer. We do hope to see you there.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us today as well. We hope you were able to take away some great key points that can help you on your own self-care journey. To learn more about our services, please visit www.twinlifecoaching.ca. You can also find us as Twin Life Coaching and Business Services on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Our YouTube handle is @Twin Life Coaching. Until next time, remember, you've got this.